on an all-new Dr. Phil.
This is a young couple taken hostage by a gunman.
The story made national headlines.
I hear him say, "I'm not afraid to kill people. I've done it already today."
Now, the terrifying 6-hour ordeal.
He's drinking beer, taking drugs, and driving, and he has the gun on his lap.
I closed my eyes to prayer. Our kidnapper said, "You shouldn't have done that."
What happened next changed the course of Eileen's life forever.
The kidnapper took us to a very secluded area. He told us to get out of the car. All of a sudden, I hear Jordan say, "No, no."
That's when I hear gunshots.
She was held hostage.
Her husband executed in front of her.
I'm so sorry. The strength that you summoned is absolutely astounding. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you.
The headlines are shocking. Carjacker executes young husband in front of pregnant wife after holding them hostage for hours. It's just been 2 months since Eileen survived that day, held at gunpoint for hours, and witnessing the love of her life murdered right before her eyes. Eileen was 4 months pregnant at the time and was rescued when a high-speed chase ended in a crash, and her abductor fatally shot himself. This tragic story made national headlines, but the details of what happened over the course of 6.5 hours were still very much a mystery. That is, until today. In a daytime exclusive, Eileen is here and will describe for the first time what she and her husband endured that day. She says her nightmare began the moment a perfect stranger rear-ended their car.
3 people, including a gunman, are dead.
The St. Louis man had carjacked and kidnapped a couple on I-24 in Coffee County.
She was held hostage and watched her husband die.
Her husband executed in front of her.
I'll always remember that day. Every detail about it. That morning, me and Jordan were going to church. We were going to be teaching children's Bible study class. While we were going to church, a car ended up rear-ending us. When Jordan got out to see what was wrong with the car, I heard this man saying, "I've killed people today. I'm not afraid to do it again." The man was very agitated. He was waving a gun around. I looked at the mirror. I saw Jordan with his hands up.
Eileen and her husband Jordan were taken hostage by D'Angelo Dorsey holding the couple at gunpoint, demanding they drive to their home in Warren County.
The kidnapper made my husband drive. I had to sit in the back seat behind my husband. On the way to our house, the man was orally taking drugs. He was pretty agitated. He didn't even know where he was. When we got to the house, my husband was in the front opening the door. I was in the middle, and this man was behind me. He had a gun on my back because of the drugs he had been taking. I mean, he was very, very paranoid. Looking through closets, he made, Jordan open up the curtains in the bathroom, look through drawers just to make sure there wasn't something like a gun in there. He told Jordan to pick him out some clothes, and he had me go and get him some food. As we were doing that for him, he was telling us that nothing was going to happen to us, that we were good people, that we were going to be okay. After we got these things for him, he told Jordan to get in the bathroom and close the door. "You're making me nervous." After Jordan locked himself in the bathroom, the man made me go to my parents' bedroom, and he shoved me on the bed. He pulled my dress up and started to touch me. Well, I told him I'm pregnant, and that's the only reason he stopped. I was terrified of what his next plans were going to be.
Well, what happened next changed the course of Eileen's life forever.
Photos from Morrison Sunday show a heavy law enforcement presence as a manhunt played out for D'Angelo Dorsey.
At one point, the suspect is accused of taking 2 hostages, killing one of them.
After spending about 45 minutes at the house, that man wanted us to take him to an ATM. When we got in the car, the man set the navigation to Texas. The whole time, Jordan was trying to stay as calm as possible and keeping the situation pretty calm, saying, we're going to go to the interstate. You're just going to drop us off on the side of the road and let us go. The man did not think that was isolated enough. The kidnapper took us to 2 different remote areas, but neither were good enough for him. We didn't know what he was going to do. Jordan offered to pray for the man. The man said, yeah, sure, pray for me. At that point, I closed my eyes and I began to start the prayer. Right after I finished, our kidnapper looked to the side and he said, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have prayed for me. Then the kidnapper took us to a 3rd secluded area. He told us to get out of the car. It was a very secluded area. I could tell no one had been there for a while. The grass was outgrown. It had rained the night before, so I could feel the mud underneath my feet seeping into my shoes. Our kidnapper told us to go in different directions. I started walking and all of a sudden I hear Jordan say, no, no. I turn around after hearing some gunshots. Next thing I see is Jordan falling on the ground. I looked down and I saw the blood spread. I didn't think it was real. I realized that my husband is gone and no one knows where he's at.
Well, Eileen is joining me virtually. Eileen, it's so good to meet you, and I'm so very, very sorry for the circumstances. Let me just say on behalf of myself and Robin and everyone here at Dr. Phil, we're so terribly sorry for your loss. I don't have the words to tell you how sorry I am for your loss.
Thank you.
You're how far along in your pregnancy now?
25 weeks.
At this point, you know, you have to be thinking that you never planned to be a single mother, but what goes through your mind before we talk about how you got here? What goes through your mind in thinking about what life will be like without Jordan there when this baby is born, and all of the things that will happen that he won't be part of? How do you feel about all of that?
It's going to be hard. I didn't plan on being a single mother, so it's hard to think what that's going to be like. You
and Jordan had known each other since grade school, right? I mean, everything in your life you shared together.
Right. He was my first boyfriend.
He knew this was going to be a little girl, right?
I kept thinking, oh, it's going to be a boy, and then he'd be like, no, it's going to be a girl. So I do believe that he kind of, wished for it to be a girl. He didn't tell my dad that, but and me either. He was team boy, but I think he definitely, deep down wanted a girl.
What do you miss most about Jordan each day?
Just him being there, him talking to me, and his smell, and just knowing that he's right there next to me.
Of course. On the day that it happened, which was a Sunday, you were in his dream Mustang, right? This was what he had wanted more than anything, and he had gotten the car, and you got rear-ended. Was the rear-ending on purpose?
I do believe it was on purpose. The first thing I told him was to be nice, because I knew him. So I knew that it was his dream car, and he was going to be upset that there was a scratch on the car or whatever on the car. So I just told him to remember, just be nice and, be calm.
Well, take me through the moment that you either looked through the back window or the rearview mirror, however you saw it, when you actually saw a gun.
When I look at the mirror, at the back window, I see Jordan with his hands up. And then at that point, I see the man, and he has a gun, and he's waving it around. And that's when I hear him say, "I'm not afraid to kill people. I've done it already today." So at that point, I called 911, and then I was never able to speak with them because I had to get out of the car because Jordan told me to get out of the car and put my hands up. And at that point, that's when Jordan told him I was pregnant, just, so he wouldn't do anything to me. And I guess maybe because he had a gun in his hand, he wanted to protect me as much as he could.
Do you think as things unfolded that it might well be that this baby saved your life?
I do believe so. I feel like God didn't allow him to do these things just because, to me, because there's purpose in this baby. He kept saying, oh, you're pregnant. I wouldn't do this to a pregnant lady. The same thing's not going to happen to you. But how was I supposed to trust that?
Well, absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Eileen says that while she was alone with Jordan's killer, she had several opportunities to escape, but didn't because she didn't want anyone else to die. We'll talk about all of that and more details of what happened after the break.
Dorsey was spotted heading east on I-24, where he was involved in a chase.
We're going over 100. We're just swerving past, back and forth, back and forth. That's when a cop hits us from the back. The next thing I hear is a gunshot.
And later,
He's drinking beer, he's smoking cigarettes, he's taking drugs, and he has the gun on his lap. I'm thinking, okay, I can literally just reach for the gun.
As we were driving, we got off in a gas station. That's when we had to get down to get some beer for him. The kidnapper made me go in with him. Once we got inside, we got the beer that he wanted. There was a man in line. I batted my eyes at him just as a signal for him to realize something was going on, but instead he just smiled at me. At that moment, I felt defeated. I can't say anything because if I do, then he shoots the guy. He shoots me. He shoots everybody in the gas station, and I didn't want to be, the cause of other people's death.
Eileen says 2 months ago, she woke up on a typical Sunday morning, married to the love of her life. This is a young couple starting a family. They're on their way to church. Hours later, she was left a young and pregnant widow after she and her husband were taken hostage by a gunman. When he took the two of you with him, you were in the back seat and Jordan was driving. At that point, you say his demeanor was very erratic.
He had a bag and he was just taking orally. I don't even know what it is. So It's not something I guess that would have been common, I guess, but I could tell that he was, taking stuff and that made him very paranoid. So all the while he was just like, oh, you got to slow down here and you got to slow down there and don't try anything funny. And I mean, at one point he said, you wouldn't do anything to hurt your wife, would you? Because I'm sure you love her and your baby, right? And, Jordan looked and he said, yeah, I love her more than life itself.
And he wanted to stop for cigarettes, right?
I realized there are people around. I could probably easily say something, but knowing that he has a gun on him, knowing that we're at a gas station, easily he could just take out his gun and start shooting people.
Now, he had Jordan call your father to see if they had already left for church, right?
Correct.
Because he wanted to make sure that it was safe to go there to get clothes and all. And this was
Right.
when he put Jordan in the bathroom after he had gotten him some clothes and then took you into the bedroom, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And that's when he started to molest you, and you reminded him that you were pregnant, and that stopped him, right?
Yeah, he lifted up my dress and started touching me. And I mean, all I said was, just please remember that I'm pregnant. And then that's when he stopped and he said, you're right, I wouldn't do that to a pregnant lady.
And when you left there, he wanted to go to an ATM and get money, is that right?
Yes, that's when he sets his navigation to Texas. And I just kept thinking, I'm not going to Texas. I'm a teacher. I'm going to school in the morning. Jordan was saying, okay, we're going to take you halfway there so you could just get on the interstate with the car and just go where it is you need to go. And he said, yeah, I just need to know how to get there. You guys are good people. You guys are helping me out. Everything's going to be fine. Jordan tells him there's a side road where we could just get down and he could just drop us off and just take the car.
Yeah, and the idea was that if he dropped you off remotely, that would give him plenty of time to get away, right?
Correct. And
twice he thought it wasn't remote enough. Now, Jordan offered to pray for the kidnapper, and you actually said a prayer out loud for him, right?
When Jordan offered it, I was kind of like, are you crazy? Like, why would, I didn't even think of something like that. And I kind of waited for him to say something, and then he never did. So that's when I said, okay, I'll pray. I said, thank you for this day. Thank you for putting us here, and watch over this man and put peace in his heart wherever he goes, and just keep him safe wherever he goes. And then when I looked up, because I had my eyes closed and everything, and when I looked up, he was looking to the side, this man was, and he said, oh, you shouldn't have prayed for me. You shouldn't have done that. That's where I think it was kind of like a switch. And I think at that moment, he kind of decided what it was that he was going to do.
You think that was the turning point?
I do believe so, yes.
And you drive to a third location, and he tells both of you to get out of the car.
He tells me to go to the right and Jordan to go to the left. That's when I hear gunshots, and I hear 3 gunshots, and I'm thinking it's hunting season. And the second thing, I heard Jordan yell out, he said, no, no. And when I look to the side, he's falling face forward. And I see Jordan on the ground, and then I start seeing blood, on his back. And I didn't know how to react. I was, I think, in shock at that moment. And I had seen this man, he was, he had the gun out in front of him where he had just shot him. And at that moment, he tells me, get in the car.
Did you realize at that point that your husband was dead?
I think I did realize it, just he didn't move. Seeing the blood on the back, I think that really did it for me. And I think also knowing, that I had been on the road for so long, like there was no way that he would be okay still.
Knew help couldn't get there?
Yep.
I'm so sorry. After her husband was murdered, Eileen was left alone with his killer before a high-speed chase set her free. But it wasn't quite as simple as it sounds. What happened in those hours they were together, we're going to find out after the break. This is a man that just murdered your husband, and now he's making you actually touch him. Where did you find the strength? Eileen says after she was forced to leave her husband's body in an isolated area, she spent hours alone with this killer until she was finally rescued.
Around 3:30 Sunday afternoon, Dorsey was spotted heading east on I-24, where he was involved in a chase.
Once we got back on the highway, the man decided he wanted to go back to Missouri, where he was from. At this point, I was pretty scared. I didn't know if I was going to be next. I was trying everything to, stay calm. I kept telling him I needed to go to school tomorrow, and he simply just said, oh, you're not going to go to school tomorrow, not after everything you've just seen. While going down the road, I desperately tried to signal people. No one was noticing. All the while, my husband's phone kept ringing with phone calls from my dad, my mom, his mom, all his family members, all my family members. I just kept thinking, he's not here. At this point, he asked me if I had makeup, and he wanted me to cover up his tattoos. Okay, yeah, we're literally going down the road, and I'm trying to cover up his tattoos with my makeup. At one point, that man cut off a semi-truck, and there was a state trooper on the other side, and that's who spotted us. So we're going over 100, and there are cars on either side. We're just swerving past, back and forth, and he's honking his horn, and it's literally a speed chase at this point. I looked at the rearview mirror, and all I saw was blue lights. I was holding on to the seatbelt pretty much for dear life. At that point, the kidnapper tries to drive into the median, and that's when a cop hits us from the back. The car flips. When the car came to a stop, I was literally hanging upside down. I couldn't see the man. The airbags had deployed. I can hear some fumbling around. The next thing I hear is a gunshot. I start feeling a hot liquid on my arm. I realized that he had just killed himself.
You've been carjacked, held hostage. You've seen your husband murdered. Now you've been in a 100-mile-an-hour car chase and crash. And then your abductor shoots himself and his blood is running all over your body. What are you saying to yourself at this point?
I'm thinking this has got to be a nightmare. And I'm just hoping that, I can finally get out of this car, because that's all I wanted to do. Get out of the car and tell somebody, where Jordan was at. And I just felt like that was never going to happen.
Where did you find the strength to actually put your hands on this man? Because he's having you apply makeup. So this is a man that just murdered your husband, and now he's making you actually touch him and put makeup on him. That must have been horribly repulsive for you to have to get in that proximity to this monster that just killed the father of your unborn baby and the love of your life since grade school. What did you say to yourself when you're having to do that?
I think I did everything that he was asking me to do, just because as long as I do it, I'm going to be okay, and I'm not going to get him upset, because I knew that, when I'm putting the makeup on him, he's drinking beer, he's smoking cigarettes, he's taking drugs, and he has the gun on his lap and driving. At that point, when I'm putting the makeup on him, I'm thinking, okay, I can literally just reach for the gun and open the door and just run out or roll out, whatever. But, I don't know how to handle a gun, first off. I didn't want to just, run out the door or something and something happen to the baby as soon as I just run out, or something if I roll out of the car and then, there goes the baby. So I think I'm trying to do as much as I can so that not me be okay, but the baby be okay.
Well, I have to say, from a psychological perspective, the strength that you summoned in this crisis is absolutely astounding. And God bless you for finding that strength and doing what you did. It's hard to imagine and humbling to hear. Now, you crawled out of that car, and even then it wasn't over, because now you're staring down the barrel of a lot of guns from a lot of police officers that don't know whether you're perpetrator or victim, correct?
Correct. I can see through the mirror all these cops all surrounding the car, and I can hear them as well. And I start, just shaking my hand out and waving at them, and they tell me to get out of the car, and I'm trying to yell at them. I can't, I'm stuck. So they literally had to cut the seatbelt off of me. And I mean, you probably can't see, but I mean, I literally have nothing. That was the seatbelt scar. And I mean, I just have a little scar, and literally that was it. To me, that alone is amazing. Well, and that the baby's still there,
Well, that is astounding. God clearly had you in his hand, no doubt about it.
Yes.
Next, Eileen says she puts on a brave face because she doesn't want people's pity. But when she's alone, she admits the tears are hard to stop. We'll talk about what impact this has on someone when we come back.
I miss his voice. I miss his smell, definitely. I miss kisses on the forehead. I miss him, and I miss a lot about him.
Eileen says the first words she heard from Dorsey were, "I've killed people today, and I'm not afraid to do it again." He wasn't lying. Joining us now is Bliss Zeckman. Bliss is a reporter and weekend morning anchor at WTVC News Channel 9 in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Bliss, thank you so much for being here and also for helping with this whole story and getting this story out. I appreciate you being here.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. What Eileen just said is all true according to what investigators have reported here, but he had killed before. And in fact, he did it just that morning, according to the TBI. Now, in his own vehicle or in the vehicle he was in, he shot and killed another person in that vehicle, that was Darcy Johnson, and then also shot and injured another person in that vehicle. And then he was looking for an escape vehicle, essentially, at that point. Encountered somebody, tried to get their car. That person ended up getting away on foot without being injured, then approached another woman, ended up shooting her in the hand, and then went to a truck driver. We're not sure at that point if he was trying to get the vehicle from the truck driver, but ended up shooting him in the head.
Did he have a criminal record? Did he have a violent background? Was this a bad day, or was this a historical thing with him? What do we know about the perpetrator?
No, he had a pretty extensive rap sheet in Missouri where he's from, but he had no criminal history as an adult here in Tennessee.
And Bliss, you've known this couple and known these people. This is a small community where people care about each other, right?
It is. I'm from McMinnville, just like Jordan and Eileen. And you're right, said it correctly. We do care about each other. There's some downfalls, and there's some great benefits to living in a small town. And one of those is definitely the amount of support that you're going to receive when something like this happens.
Liz, thanks for updating us on all of that and talking about the community as well. Eileen says she wakes up every day thinking about how the events of September 13th, 2020 robbed her of her first and only love. Take a look.
Jordan not being here has obviously left a huge void in my everyday life. Waking up, knowing he's not there, or knowing I won't get either a phone call or a text message throughout the day as well. Jordan was my first boyfriend. We did all of our first together, everything. The first date, the first boy I brought to my house, graduating college, starting a new job. He played a huge part in my life for 5 years.
This is the last watch that I gave him for our anniversary. On the back is engraved, "To my husband, you are my always and forever, my happily ever after."
I miss his voice. He hummed all the time, he wouldn't even notice he'd be humming. I miss his smell, definitely. I still have his cologne. I miss kisses on the forehead because he was taller than me. I miss him, and I miss a lot about him. I'm very conscious of everything that happens. It's hard to go through it every day. Being 25 weeks pregnant, I try my hardest to keep my emotions as calm as possible. Going to school daily, it really helps. I'm not focused on my problem. I'm focused on those 5 and 6-year-olds that I have to teach. I refuse to break down and cry in front of people because I don't want my emotions to get to other people. I don't want to be pitied.
Well, Eileen, it's so understandable, all of that and how you feel. And you say that a big part of your decision to talk to me is because you feel like Jordan would have wanted you to.
Yes, he was a video and film major, and I think that if he would have found out that this is what I was doing, I think he'd be super excited.
Let me assure you the honor is mine. We'll take a quick break and talk about the future. Eileen says she not only has lost her husband, her unborn daughter has lost her father as well, leaving Eileen with some big questions about what the future holds and how to adapt to it all. We'll talk about those questions when we come back.
This pig actually has her heartbeat in it.
It's gonna be, I think, hard being a single mom. It wasn't a choice. So it was something pretty much thrown at me.
Eileen says the hardest part of this ordeal is knowing how much Jordan would have loved and cherished their daughter.
This is the area where Galilea is going to have her nursery.
When we found out that we were pregnant, Jordan kept saying that it was going to be a girl. We had already picked out a name, Galilea.
Here's a picture of her in 3D, a picture of me and Jordan on our wedding day, and a picture of him when he was a baby.
Jordan wanted us to teach her all about cars and drive manual, change oil, even though he didn't know how to change oil himself. He wanted to get her to know about 70s and 80s music that I didn't like. That was kind of what was going to be part of him.
Eileen and Jordan were both 23 when they found out they would be parents next year. Eileen not finding out it was a baby girl until after he was gone.
When I found out we were having a girl, it was like Jordan was saying, oh, look, I knew we were, having a girl. It was reassuring. Because, God knew what he was doing.
This pig actually has her heartbeat in it.
It's going to be, I think, hard being a single mom. It wasn't a choice. So it was something pretty much thrown at me. I won't have his support, and in a way, she won't have him either. As of right now, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to even tell my daughter what happened or how I'm supposed to even bring up her dad. It will be important for her to know, who her dad was. He played a huge part in my life and in hers too.
Robin and I have two sons that we've raised that are now adults. One of them has two children, the other has one on the way. We raised our boys in a faith-based home, and we're very much, we feel very strongly about that element of upbringing, and I know that's how you'll raise your daughter. And as a result, we believe very much in the celebration of life. I think it's very important that Jordan be a part of your daughter's life from the very, very beginning. And, fortunately, in this age of technology, you have wonderful pictures and videos of Jordan that you can share with her. She can see him, his facial expressions, his sense of humor, his warmth and love for you, and his devotion to her even before she got here. Obviously, when she's young, you don't want to talk about the violent way in which he died and the trauma that was gone through. There will be a time for that when she's old enough to conceive of that. You will never, ever, ever, ever forget what happened. You will never, ever, ever forget Jordan. But you will find a way to fold it into your experience of life and to accommodate it so there can be joy in your home.
A rural community pauses tonight to honor a young man killed at the hands of violence.
The community's been great. They've helped out a lot. A neighbor set up a GoFundMe account. I was shocked. I would never ask for something like that.
A passionate prayer.
But Lord, tonight in your own special way.
A symbolic song.
The candlelight vigil was very overwhelming. So many people that just came up to me, random people, some of my school kids, their parents came up to me and they were in tears. It was just a really nice moment, the community coming together. All I have is gratitude towards all those people.
When I was writing down all of these things and look at what you've been through, you're in a position where you have to go forward with a new life as a single mother without the love of your life. You've endured the trauma of witnessing your husband's execution, suffered a sexual assault, feared for your own life, been rammed by a police car, crashed at 100 miles an hour, heard this gunshot of a suicide right next to you. Any one of these things is horrific enough to trigger PTSD and all types of reactions. And then the second compelling part of this story is the strength that summoned up in you, and that you did not panic. You stayed there plugged in for your daughter, but you may well be still in some degree of shock right now. And as some of this starts to come to land on you with some weight, you have to be prepared to ask for help. And don't think that it's weak to ask for help. You owe it to your daughter to take care of her mother and make sure that you heal as much of these wounds as can be healed, because you don't want your daughter to have a part of her mother and then a part of this pain is walled off to the side. She deserves 100% of her mother. And you're just 2 months out of this, and if you start to see signs of PTSD, which are reactions to triggers like loud noises, or anything that's reminiscent of a car crash, or a smell, or anything that can trigger you, you start to have nightmares, sleep disturbance. You, your family, everyone around you needs to monitor these things. And if you see them, that needs to be a cue to ask for help. And right now you have all the support of your family and your church community, and there's nothing incremental to that. That's the best that you could possibly have. And if you get to a point that you feel like you want individual counseling for this, you pick up the phone and let us know, and I will provide that for you in a heartbeat. Let me tell you, everybody grieves differently. How do you think you're doing?
I think I'm doing as best as I can, and I think a lot of it has to do with being pregnant and knowing that my emotions get to the baby as well. To me, I've always been a pretty busy person, so I know that to me, staying busy is important. I'm a school teacher, and I'm also studying for my master's, so it's important for me to continue things like that. Of course, I have my moments. I also choose to, pray whenever those moments get hard, and just, talk to God whenever it is that I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, or if it's getting to be a lot. So, I think about sometimes, oh, well, maybe today's not a good day to go to school. But then I think, I have all these kids depending on me, and to me, it's more important to worry about them than not saying that it's not important to worry about myself, but it's keeping me busy, and sometimes that's what I need. I think it'll be harder when she finally arrives. I think that'll be a bigger challenge for myself, but I also know that I'm going to get all the help that I need, family-wise, taking care of her, and I don't want to be that person, for her, that's that depressed mother. That's not who I want to be.
Right.
So, and I also, I don't think that Jordan would have wanted me to be like that. He knew, how hard I worked to go to school and working wise. And so I don't think that he would have wanted me to stop, right? Where, just stop right there. So I think that gives me a lot of encouragement as well. So I'm just trying to do as best as I can.
God bless you, and know that you're in our hearts and prayers as well. And I'm very, very glad to talk to you today.
Thank you. And that's all I ask. Anybody is, anybody that's listening or anything, is just to keep me in their prayers, and, our family and this baby, because, like I said, I know that there's a purpose behind this baby's life. And I do believe that one of the biggest things that keeps me going is just all those prayers that random people, strangers, and, people all around that are giving us. And that's the most encouragement that I can get right now.
Well, you're an inspiration to all of us. Thank you so much. Thanks to you, and thank Bliss for joining us as well. There's a link to Eileen's GoFundMe on the screen. You can see that. She didn't put this up, by the way. Others put it up for her. So just know that the link is there if you would like to help out. And if you would like more information about today's episode, log on to drphil.com. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.